Oh, the sound of this thing is incredible. Wait till you see this. Welcome everybody back to Just Plain Crazy. I'm Brennan. Thanks for joining me again here for another episode. Out with the old, in with the new. We're working on the Xcub. So it's time to get rid of that Fg61ts Saito. Although Saito has a really great name amongst engine manufacturers, that engine and me just did not see eye to eye. Not sure why. Started great, idled great, but the oil leaks that develop between the cylinder head bushing and the rocker plate, not the valve covers, the rocker plate, that bushing in there is not replaceable. So after about 2 tanks of fuel, even though that the temp was monitored, it was broken properly, I'd get oil mess everywhere. So it was time to get rid of that thing before it completely destroyed the airframe. And Horizon was great about dealing with the warranty concerns and everything else. So I have no complaints, no arguments there, but it's time to move on. So hoping I'm saying it right. So from Vogelsang Aeroscale, this is the Fiala Valach 70. This engine is a 4-stroke 70cc motor, so it's going to give me a little bit more power, I hope, which this Xcub can use because I think it's heavy for its size, but it's a nice flying plane and I love it. But we're going to be playing around with this thing. I have a rough mount trying to figure out standoff size and everything else, but it does look like the mounting pattern is exactly the same as the Saito Fg61. I had to do some wood carving, still have some more to do, and then we have to figure out how we're going to route in the choke and the throttle to this thing. And the exhaust, you actually can make your own exhaust pipes for this side, which I've already got figured out as well. So not a complete tutorial on this thing, just gonna kind of give you guys the run through of what was in there. I really had to rip the thing out quick and send it away, so there was no video of ripping the Saito out of there, but we're going to time lapse the Fiala going in here, and then we're going to show it out in the driveway as we run this thing and get it up in the air again. So stick around and hope you enjoy it. One of the things that's going to be key to doing this engine swap is getting that fuel tank in a holder and getting it off to the side. Let me show you what I got going on. So I always enlist some help from my buddy Donnie Clark over at Gator-Rc. He's great at designing and molding things on some CAD programs. So he helped me kind of thumb my way through this one, but that's what we got going right now for the Xcub. Hopefully it'll be done soon and we'll see if it works. All right guys, so here we go. After having this thing apart 50 times, the placement of things looks like I'm going to need to keep the articulation of the arm correct. Let me get this light in here. Hopefully you can see that. So the servo needs to be moved up into this area and mounted there. I've gone ahead and heated up the side of the plane right there and slid a razor blade in the back to break the epoxy loose. Now I'm going to have to go ahead and just repaint over that and touch that up. No biggie. That's where it's going to be now. Again, my buddy over at Donnie at Gator-Rc custom designed my lower fuel tank holder for me, and that thing works really well, super stout. And that's printed out of PETG material that I did here at home. So this thing is going to get mounted right here, and that gives me just enough room for the fuel line to clear this opening to get to the carb, but yet in the back, if I ever need to remove this battery tray, I can still do it. My choke lever is going to come up through here, and again, like I said, the throttle will be right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to rough up those surfaces underneath the servo. so we can epoxy those down. I put a couple screws in there for safekeeping. We're going to retouch up the paint where I ground off some old epoxy from things in the inside, and then everything in the inside of here we're going to go ahead and reseal, make our linkages here the right length, so that way that's all shored up, and hopefully get this thing soon ready to fire. But let's get to work. All right, so we have that all painted up in there. That's pretty dry at this point. We're going to go ahead and seal it with some epoxy. And I did grind off some of the oil-soaked wood right here. And even though this was sealed before, it still managed to weep in a little bit. So I ground that down, and we're going to go ahead and reseal that. We're going to take it off of the platform and reseal it. Make sure that we reseal everything up on the inside of there as well. You can see we got our black paint touched up on the inside. Now to do this, all we're going to do is just simply take some 5-minute epoxy, and we're going to thin it down with some alcohol, and we're going to use an acid brush. And if you need to be able to get into some of the areas here, the nice part about the acid brushes, you can just bend them into whatever angle you want, and that'll easily help you to get in there. All right, so this is what we have yet to do today. The ignition is halfways in there. There's not a ton of room here for it. We're going to take these mounting blocks, and I'm going to epoxy those in there so that way my ignition module is straight and supported on all sides. We already have our spark plug wire secured. We have to drill our prop and notch out our spinner. We have all of our linkage and stuff hooked up on the inside. The throttle servo is up in there. Our fuel tank holder from my buddy Donnie at SkyMonkey-RC works great, so that's secured and everything there is plumbed in. And for our exhaust here is cut and silver soldered and ready to go. So that thing's going to get a gasket. We're going to mount that in over here on this side. We're going to do something with this oil blow-by drain hose, and once the exhaust pipe is mounted in here, we're going to have to go ahead and use our index card trick because we're going to cut the cowl. And I just want this just long enough to stick out of the cowl so I don't have to notch a bunch of holes in it. That's why we went through all this effort of doing all this, is still to keep our cowl pretty clean looking. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to work, get this mounted, get the cowl cut, prop and spinner. I think we're good. All right, when you order the Fiala and Moki drill jig drill guide, that thing comes with the template for a lot of engines. They give you 2 different size locating pins, so that way you can not only have the center, but your first outside one to keep everything in line. And they give you a drill bit. So let's go ahead and drill our prop and our spinner back plate and get this thing mounted up. And there you have it, guys. That was the quick install of the Fiala Valach FM70V1 engine. Let's get this baby outside and throw some fuel to it, see how it sounds. All right, guys, it's that time. We are outside. We finally have a decent break in the weather, even though there's some snow out here. It's time to get this Valach FM70 fired up in this Xcub. And as you can hear behind me, the Fly Henry ignition system in this thing is a smart ignition. It knows if you have the throttle high. As soon as it fires up, it'll kill and then default with tones. And that sound you hear right now tells you that it's armed and ready to fire. So when you don't have the ignition powered, you can hear it does that after a minute, and that means that it shut itself off. So we'll turn it off and turn it back on. Now it's armed. Let's get this baby fired up. I've already got it pre-choked. So we should have a nice wet carb there and get this thing fired up. Now the plane is restrained properly. We got the wings on for vibration. I know that that gets people sometimes, but let's see what we can do here. Now this is a 4-stroke, so it takes 2 revolutions to get to that compression. Oh, listen to that. I love it. I love it. Give it a little bit of throttle here. right, so she's fired up, running, and idling. We're going to monitor our temperature. We're going to follow the break-in procedure as recommended. We're running 25:1 Motul synthetic 2-stroke oil in this thing. That's what they call for. It's a little hard to find on Amazon, but we're going to go ahead and tweak it, monitor the temperature. We're going to heat cycle this baby a couple times, and They say it takes up to 2 hours run-in time. We're not going to do that, but I will go through a good tank of fuel or two. Now, this is a 4-stroke, so very fuel efficient on this plane, so it ought to last me a long time with a 500cc tank, but I'm going to get to adjusting those carbs, or that carb, get those screws adjusted and get this thing really dialed in, get it broken in, and hopefully we'll catch you at the field soon. And let's go ahead and take one more walk around. You can see the installation on this thing. Exhaust is pretty short. It's custom placed, so you can make that thing any direction you want to, and it's an open header because there's just no way to get a muffler or anything else in here. It's just not going to happen. So again, the Fiala Valach VM70V1. You can see the way we mounted the ignition and stuff in there, and we'll take you around the inside. Hopefully you can see right down there by the pilot's hand to the left is where I put my choke lever, so we can just reach right inside of here and we can get to that little knob right there for the choke, and then we have our ignition LED in the dash panel as well. So with that being said, it's another alternative to an EME 70 or a DA 60 or 50, or potentially the Saito Fg61 oil leak problem that I had in the inside of this. But anyway, I can't wait to get this thing out to the field. So with that being said, it's Brendan here, Just Plain Crazy. You guys are just plain crazy for watching. If you liked it, smash that thumbs up for me. If you didn't, you're gonna hit this baby, do that thing twice. Like, share, subscribe, all of that cool shameless plug stuff. With that being said, I wish you guys happy flights. Peace out.